Well, yesterday we spoke with a therapist who had some tips on talking with children about racism, protests, the riots that we're all seeing. And to continue that conversation are joining me two local moms, Sharice DeVogus and Steph Davies, who have had to have two completely different conversations, but challenging ones nonetheless, with their kids on what is going on in our country today. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me start off with you, Sharice. Tell me, what are your children asking you about?
They're pretty much asking me, who is George Floyd? What's going on? Why are people protesting? So I took that opportunity to have a very matter of fact conversation with my 10-year-old son about racial injustice and exactly what that means and what we can do to help combat that.
Definitely. So, Steph, that segues into me asking you, what conversations are you now having with your children about what call of action they can do to play a role in what we're seeing?
Sure. I actually took my kids to watch the march a few days ago. They've been hearing it around the house, and just as a noise, it's kind of scary and intimidating. And as we stood there and watched people march by, I told them the story. And something I realized in telling my 6-year-old was her first impression was I was telling her a story that happened in the 60s, in the days of Martin Luther. She didn't understand that this could still be happening today. And I think that's missing in a lot of our conversations. And so that's really forced me to fill in the gap of saying, no, this is happening now. And it's important that we speak up now and we fight for our friends who don't look like us, because people are still treating them differently. And it's important to show up. So
I love how you say our friends, and it's important to show up. Ladies, talk about, if you could, why now it's so important to speak up and to have these conversations with your children.
I think as parents, if we don't address what's going on, our children will get their perception of what's going on from social media, from their peers, from television. So I think that it's being our children's first teachers,
Yes,
that we need to initiate these conversations, not wait until things happen, but initiate these conversations.
definitely. And Steph, for you, this is not in a textbook. This is happening. This is history happening right now in front of your children's eyes. Are you also letting them know that, hey, this is not, like you said, something that happened long ago, but something that's happening now, and what we can do?
yeah, I mean, so my kids actually go to a school where they're the minority, and I'm very grateful for that, because I think that gives them this organic lead into a natural empathy and compassion for people who are different than they are. And I think it's important to immerse your kids into a culture of other people, into a community that doesn't always look like you, because otherwise, I mean, that's part of shaping them, is that experience of just knowing as a diverse a community as possible. And yeah, I mean, I definitely realized when my daughter said this must have happened a long time ago that I was missing the boat somewhere. And so we're definitely having that conversation more now and talking about that this happened and the details of what happened and how it is wrong. And I mean, I think an extra layer to that too is discussing police brutality and trying to convey that there are people in power who might not always be the best people, and how do we even begin to combat that? And that's an extra layer to this conversation right now.
Definitely. Well, you two are both the first nurturers and teachers that your children see. And I'm so glad that you were courageous enough to have this conversation with me today, and continuing to have that conversation with your children to create these empathetic human beings that can make our world a better place. Thank you so much.